Hello and welcome to Nexus Wars. Now this game is going to be a game of party versus party, meaning there are 4 people on the left and there are 4 people on the right. So let me introduce them. On the left corner of the ring we have Trail, Obsidian, 2% and Core. On the right corner we have Mr. Big Gum as Mr. Junior Hot Dog. And who else? Myself. I know it's Naughty. Where is that dude? There he is. Naughty. Alright, cool. Now let's get to it. Naughty goes pylon, the other side does not choose to go pylon. They are just building on both sides like in the regular game. Hot Dog decides to defend a pylon opener with a fire bat, which is a lot more plausible strategy these days because fire bat is only 75 minerals. Alright, let's speed things up. Things are progressing in a relatively mild and somewhat safe manner. Bot is being held by the 2 fire bats. Top is now being stacked. Now what they're gonna do is they're probably going to hold top or not. They're just gonna let it run unsynced. Here comes the Myrtle Hydra. Now if you are not used to playing party versus party, and if you were frustrated in the past because you weren't really able to hold up in the beginning of the game because, you know, you weren't for whatever reason, this is the kind of coordination and the kind of strategy that it takes. You can see that Trey, Obsidian, Core, and 2%, 4 of them are building in the mid row. And this is the difference when a party of 4 is playing some random dudes in pubs. I'm thinking, quite frankly, that pub game should transition to utilizing this strategy because this is one of the most strongest strategies in the world, which is to build all of your units in the mid, share control and play like pros, because this is what pros do. I'll take that back, because take a look at this. We're just almost owning bottom. Almost doesn't count. Alright. We have a slight push on the top, so what we did in the past, we just held the top for just a bit so that they don't stack. And now we're facing a more stronger push on the bottom. That means that the bottom is going to be held for now. I'm thinking, yes. Bottom was held because you can see there are no units in the bot lane. Let's see how this plays out.
Your forces are under attack.
Here comes a bunch of walkers. Workers are working.
Our allies' base.
Junior is dragging. Even though Warhounds had received some tune-ups, I wouldn't call that buff. Tune-ups, you know, still not very plausible when they're facing a whole bunch of immortals. So he has to drag. They are doing the build cancel and dragging on the bottom, on the top themselves. And let's see if we're gonna be able to do anything with this wave. My prediction is no, we're not gonna be able to do anything. Now this nuke, I send it fast, but I was waiting for any trailing wave to catch up so that I would nuke both waves, not just one. That was the important point to take away from this. I was also watching for our wave to spawn so that we have a mild push over here. So you see Warhounds gonna run away forward from these immortals, and we're gonna get back to the defense on the top, but let's see what happens now with these guys. Well, they just get raped as predicted, and there we go, we get turned. At this point in time, it is useful and appropriate to take a pause and look and evaluate. We have 8 or 9, 10, whatever, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 immortals here, a bunch, some Hydra and a few supporting units, versus this build when there are only 5 immortals and the rest of them are warhounds and tanks. You can see clearly that this mid forced a nuke versus this mid, i.e. conclusion Terran is still lagging behind, in my opinion. We turn top. They turn bottom. Let's see what's going to happen on the next turn, because they are massing up a pretty strong army over here on the bottom, while we are attacking the top. And this is what I would not recommend doing. I would not recommend placing your units at the front of the mid row, because you can see you get a lot of pressure from these units. And if this wave would have had some Colossus in it, Colossus would just sit here outside of the range of any units and attack these buildings, which is very frustrating and very, very uncool. Now, we were able to deal with bottom because we were pressuring top. They're going Colossus. My response is that I'm gonna pack in a few Vipers. Let's take a look on things from my perspective. So it's 2 nukes on this side versus 3 nukes on this side, meaning they have 3 nukes, we have 2 nukes. Now we have a wave developing on the top. Now they're going Ultra. Ultra is being criticized now for providing extra income, but look, the game, this particular game, and there's many others, is still being dominated by the vast majority of immortals being present. And quite frankly, if we are on the other side, it's too late for us to go Ultra. What we can do is we can roll out a few mothership cores, because they don't have a lot of air presence, and roll out a few scouts. Scouts will lift up immortals, that will provide extra time for our units to attack them, and they will also deal heavy damage to these tempests, some minor inconvenience for these carriers, and of course they will put pressure on Colossus. So at this point in time, in my opinion, the momentum of the game is starting to swing into our favor. We didn't have a good mid, we were close on income side, and now we are able to sort of catch up and maybe level the game. However, 1 second. However, right now it's leveled, and we have a gap. We have a gap that we have to close, because if they develop their mid row very, very strongly, then we don't stand a chance. So our strategy here, I guess, is to push hard in such a manner that we don't allow them to fully develop that air toss ball, so to speak. So we're spamming Phoenix. Is it Phoenix? Yes. We're spamming Phoenix on both sides. There are some scouts.
Your forces are under attack.
Junior calls a nuke. Pretty good call. I'm guessing it's not happening right now, because they don't see a lot of units here. So he nukes. Not sure if it was like a really super duper cool nuke, but it is what it is. And we're practically turning bottom without that nuke. I think he was waiting for a lot of air units to come our way. Now we're able to deal with carriers and with tempests just by sheer numbers of these phoenixes. Okay. Unfortunately, warhounds, their greatest advantage right now is the range, and because of their speed, 1.3 versus 2.25. They have a tendency to get ahead of Immortals, and then they're being exposed for a really harsh attack by Immortals in the first place. At 240 versus 300, you'd expect them to be a little bit better, but my experience shows that that's not the case. Okay, I'm deviating from the game. We are now pressing the bottom. See, their Airwave spawns, but it does not attack our ground units. So our ground units are free to mess around with their mid. They nuke, and they nuke They nuke. Okay, 1 second. They nuke, but they didn't nuke our air units. So what is going to happen is our air units are going to attack their air units even after spawn, and our ground units are going to be sent to the top anyway to deal with this wave over here. In the meantime, I noticed that we stopped building mid, which is generally not a good practice, so I put whatever was left in my arsenal, and in my arsenal, voids were left. They're doing a pretty good job versus these corruptors. Now, here's the crucial point in the game. They are going stalkers, corruptors, and they're gonna go Zeratools. In the meantime, we are going to rush Kerrigans. We are pretty low on nukes. We have 1 nuke, and generally in PvP, party versus party, what you want to be able to do is to save that nuke until last moment, so that if they come in rushing with their push, well, you want to save your nuke, you know that. You don't have to explain that. Here it is. Here's my Kerrigan, and I'm rushing it forward to deal with the menace of the wave on the bottom. This is good because I will have enough time to roll out that extra charge. I would not recommend pushing top at this time as Hot Dog was doing. You know, you could see that he was moving up north to accelerate our push. That's not what you want to do. You want to come back to the bottom and really slow these guys on the bottom. And we had just enough Kerrigans, Obsidian nukes, we had just enough Kerrigans to be able to do it effectively. Even if they were here, we would be able to turn this wave with 2 Kerrigans. Okay? So now I'm going to soften up. We are going to soften up these corruptors and then let the rest of our units do our job. Now, Warhounds are going to be pretty plausible dealing with these stalkers. Now let's take a look at my build, and it is pretty much all over the place. You see, I have Queens, I have Hydra, I have Vipers, I have a few Bloodlords, and I have Phoenixes, and I have Voids. So being behind, I was just picking up the best unit that I see fit for the situation, which is good to keep you in the game, which is good to kind of get ahead into a rush, but it's not that good to be able to win the end game. However, with our composition like this, we have, I even have a Tempest, one of it. We have overloaded top. You can see that our top has way more attacking units as opposed to our bottom. I'm selling Hydra, retooling it really to Voids. Hot Dog had also had some Warhounds, and he also went some Zerg. So not very coordinated play in that regard. Could have done a little bit better. He could have stayed 1 race, or I don't know, but could do better. Now top is having a very good time against their unit composition. Bottom is snowballing, meaning It is pushing because we accumulated enough of units over there. Top is pushing because it just has more units to begin with. As such, we are pushing both top and bottom, which puts them in a pretty bad situation. You see those two Zeratul? They are just having a really hard time dealing with our wave. Of course, I'm scanning, or somebody's scanning, to make sure that they are not getting any traction at all. Top should have been a nuke, and because Zeratul was nerfed, they could hardly turn down bottom. In my books, they missed a nuke on top. Should have just nuked. With two nukes, one nuke being ahead, they just should have nuked top. And we are pushing. We're gonna push bottom, and I think we're gonna push top. And because these units have spread, top on their side is going. Was this a double nuke? They nuked twice. And our units just keep on flooding. So there it is, a little bit of a bad opening on our side, poor unit composition and poor build order when it comes to mid. Then we switched to countering. They went high on economy and high on the Tempest carrier bottom mid. We were able to catch up, get the momentum. We also took advantage, well, they slipped because they didn't nuke properly top when they were supposed to. We were able to catch up, turn their wave with a bunch of Kerrigans. They didn't have enough time to really build up and develop their Zeratuls, so we were able to eventually finish this game, close this game. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you learned a lot from this party versus party game. Subscribe to the channel, recommend, make comments, and stay cool. And of course, be a little naughty, because you gotta be that way. Alright, let's speed things up.